still use it. Practice all the
Yeah,
time.
I mean, I just.
Guess what
wanna
I forgot to
learn.
do?
That's all right. That's what I didn't forget to do.
Hit record.
All right, is there anything else we need on the meeting? Can we go to the round robin? Or have we been doing the round robin?
I think we kind of went into the round robin accidentally.
Round robin without saying, do we want to adjourn the meeting? So I think we've been kind of discussing workshops and lettering and and some of our meetings in the past, I know when I first joined, we would have somebody, Bill Womack or Carol Foster, different people in there, Peggy, Helen, Margaret, all had something to do with calligraphy, and they would show or demonstrate what they were doing, how to do it, how they did it, and creating their style of lettering. And we would have somebody doing like foundational, 3 teachers over a period of 4 years, showing us what we did in those Monday night meetings. And it was interesting to see the slight variations of each person, because Beth would do foundational and her loops over like and everything would be one way. Bill Womack would do it slightly different. Everyone in here was doing the same letters, but it was just ever so slightly different.
Yeah.
And what it is to do that is you look at it and you keep making those letters over and over until you can get double S, double E, double O, double L, double T, where you have those where they look all identical. And we had Charles Pierce in a workshop. He says no one is good enough to make 2 E's or double letters side by side. Some people almost do it. Surprising, but he put that, I think he put that out as a challenge as a calligrapher to practice till you have consistency in each letter, the form of it, and some of it, O is not just a circle. It's the way the broad edge comes around, slightly vertical curve, the opposite side is curved over, almost vertical in that. So it's almost like poetry with a pen. I look at it that way because it's an expression of that person is in their letter. And if they're happy, it's a good letter. If they're angry,
It's not.
And if you get up to answer the phone, you come back, it'll change.
right, yeah. I forgot how to do that.
Virginia, do you have any questions for us about how to do things? Anything that really bothers you?
Well, like I said, I need, I learned with that other kind of pen and it doesn't even work anymore because something happened to the insides of it, so I can't even use it anymore. So
May I make a suggestion?
Take it apart,
Does
clean
it
it.
unscrew?
no, the thing inside.
Oh, it's got
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
The rubber bladder has probably blown up.
Right. Now, my
They get
husband does
old.
fountain pens and he said that's what happened.
Okay,
So.
Yeah.
I
You
don't-
can fix it though.
Well, I guess, but I mean, is it worth it?
Her husband has
He has.
Yeah.
hundreds of pens.
Well,
He's the one that came. So
I-
he's got access to.
But he doesn't
bunch.
really use them.
Yeah,
like
right,
this.
yeah.
And he doesn't really collect the broad edge kind or any of that. It's mostly just the.
That pilot parallel pen
The regular,
yeah.
is
Well-
broad edge and you won't ever
so.
mess that up.
you got a piece of
Put
paper.
other ink.
Come try.
To learn how to, I mean, I didn't know that you're supposed to clean them before you used them. I didn't know any of those basic, completely basic things. So that's what I need to learn before I even get started. I think everybody's gonna look at me and I'm.
Is that what, or is it actually
That's the stuff.
pointed?
That's the stuff.
That's what they said.
This is
close to your quad, the regular quad that it's not an oblique, it's what they call a stub. And it basically is a square nib of the edges, just.
Kind of like the Jackson stub.
There's just so much that people know intuitively that I don't know,
Yeah.
you know, to.
Sure.
just
Well, if you
completely
want
stop.
one that has ink in it,
Mhm.
then you want to get a parallel pen.
Yes.
Okay,
And they come in,
I
What?
bought some of those, but they don't feel like pen to me. They feel funny in my hand.
okay,
Okay, try a Lonnie. Lonnie makes a set of calligraphy nibs. 1.1, 1.2, 1.4, or something along those lines. And
And again, I don't mind learning that new skill of working with the dip pen or whatever. I just don't know it. And so until I know it, I can't know it. And I don't need to take a whole meeting on it. So, but what's the name of that pen you said?
Lonnie and.
LAMY.
LAMY.
Dixie at Minaj sells those.
Okay,
Twisby is another one. This is a Twisby, and they don't have a complete set, but it's.
yeah, I'm not wedded to not using ink
Yeah,
pen, pen. I need to learn how to do it, so.
Yeah.
But I understand that I'm not, doing programs for complete beginners is not very attractive to people who've been doing this for years either, because then it's just like, duh, been there, done that, got the t-shirt.
Well, that's our challenge.
That's it, yeah.
Appeal to different
But if
levels.
you have new members, then they have to be able to start from the beginning and figure out how to do those things that you don't have to think about it anymore.
And I think that's why we talked about resurrecting calligraphy one
Yeah,
one
right,
too.
right.
That's
It
specifically
would
geared.
address that.
yeah,
Here's a thought for you too. When you're working on this stuff, when you get one that you're happy with, find yourself one of these little. They're basically books of that have insertable envelopes for it. And you create your own little book of, okay, this is patterns that I can play with. It shows some of the good stuff, it shows some of the bad stuff. And just keep track of it.
It's a George Journal of practical calligraphy or.
Or really stupid things that I've played with and didn't work, whatever, yeah.
well, I used to keep all the sheets that I do at a workshop. And one time I went through and I just went, but I kept the ones that had something that I'd done at a workshop that I liked, I thought I might use, and then I bound them all together. And if I'm looking for something different, I go look through my little, it isn't little, it's
Yeah,
big.
now it's
It's
big.
big, because
Big
they were big sheets,
Yeah, so
You were inquiring, you use broad edge with like a fountain pen. Parker and Schaefer both make basically what they call calligraphy pens, which are
very basic.
go from pointed pen to broad edge. And a lot of people shot that down saying it's not real calligraphy. Baloney. And because you can go back in and I'm sure you had to do it, but you can go back in and cut the back edge and make like a chisel tip. And you get extremely fine lines. Somebody says, why do you want that? Is whenever you're pulling the stroke around, it doesn't go to hairline. It just makes it very thin, beautiful letters. And I've got a Parker pen, and I've also got some Schaefer that will equal the Mitchell nibs. And if they're too wide, I gently cut this width down to match whatever I want to do. And they're cheap.
How to do that.
They're cartridge pens. And then you're talking about how to load that.
Right.
You've got your pen holder, you've got how many? 6 different manufacturers or broad edge. Mitchell is probably the softest tape or brass, or the stiff nibs.
Tape isn't,
collected-
tape
Those are
isn't as
dipped.
as
I've
stiff as
collected
browse.
quite a bit
Tape
of,
isn't as stiff as browse. It's in between
It's your
midjoint.
nibs that they're talking
Okay.
about,
Yeah.
not
Flexibility.
cartridge
Yeah.
I've collected quite a few of those over the last couple of years.
Mhm.
I just don't, unless somebody tells me this is one you should use, wouldn't know what the difference is. So
Just
Yeah.
pick
I
one
just
out
learn.
and
I got a couple of calligraphy books. I'll
yes,
just
you got
read
some
those
pen
and-
holders, staff,
Yeah.
the staff, put them in, try them.
We need to have like a calligraphy open house or something, where we can, members can be demonstrating. For people that are interested in calligraphy, but just don't know how to hold or,
Well,
for
when,
Stop.
are you through?
Sure.
I didn't want to interrupt
No,
you.
no, no.
When Gavin mentioned round robin, I had another idea
Yeah,
other than what he did. And I do remember us doing this,
yeah,
but my thought was, and maybe eventually we might do this, is set up different tables
I think that's a
of
good
people
idea.
to,
Yeah.
That's great.
I thought
Maybe
about,
Maybe for one of our warmer weather meetings.
warmer weather, yes, warmer
Like
weather
maybe a
meetings,
June or
and
July.
really
Uh-huh.
work at getting, and have, maybe 4 or 5 at the most.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I thought about doing, writing on dark envelopes, with the little laser or the pen or something. Something simple at each little location,
Yeah,
that you would just, stay there for however many minutes we say, 10, and then move to the next table instead of just wandering around.
yeah,
And, that's just
Well, I
one
thought
thing,
we
and that would help beginners. One table could be, Virginia, how do you prepare a dip, and what do you do to it, and how do you stick it in the,
I found it real interesting. Actually, how I found out about you guys was that
There,
Germantown Library had a fair or
Yeah.
something.
yeah.
Are y'all done
yes,
that?
Halloween festival.
And that's where I found,
Yeah.
I didn't know you guys were.
Yeah, Dennis and I
And that's
and
how I,
John, I think it was.
and it was fun to watch people sitting there,
Uh-huh.
you'd write, they wrote my name or something, I was full, it's like, whoa, I could do it that fast.
Yeah, that for
But
many years.
that helped, I mean, that's how I found out.
Germantown Library was really helpful with us.
I'm sure the,
because they we used to do it online.
or
Thank-
the art center, or both of them would be happy for a member to just be in the store for a period of time to write people's names, or, just create some awareness about the guild.
Jean, did you have
I
something?
know the art center would.
Yeah,
Dixie does that now, and that's why we had Mike, the little pen guy that
Uh-huh.
came, and he's there just about every week or so.
Is he writing people's names that come in?
He shows them, and so we talked about, me being there to write names.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but yeah,
so, Christian.
but yes, I think either one of them would be open. That.
Mhm.
What Maggie was talking about, we did the kind of like the round robin, but we had, I think it was 4 stations out at the main library. And there would be, I think, 5 or 6 people at each table. And they would rotate to the next table. And one person was demonstrating a couple of things with color, ink, brush.
I think Jean's trying to tell us something too.
So,
Jean,
I'm sorry. Oh, hey, no, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think there is a need for a basic calligraphy thing if you're going to try to get new people in, because if it weren't for Maggie Naylor and her classes, I wouldn't know anything about what I know today, because I was starting from zero, and it took everything I had to walk into my first calligraphy guild meeting, because I should have been wearing a shirt that said fraud on the front, so sometimes you just got to meet people where they are, and sometimes because otherwise I could never have taught myself what Maggie Naylor taught me. Just a thought.
We all had to start someplace.
Yeah, we did, and it's always better to have a person with
Somebody
to teach than.
A lot of people learn, I mean, some people I can't learn something like this very well from a book, just reading
Oh,
a
yeah.
book, it helps to see it done and how did they hold the pen and how did they move their hand and, you know, even with embroidery, it's the same thing, you know, you learn different techniques by watching how other people do it.
It's amazing the number of people that say, well, I'm doing this hand and it hit, you know, there's no manipulations to it or anything. It's just a standard downstroke and then you watch them do it and
And
they're
they're
manipulating that
Yeah.
pen all over the place.
Yeah.
You can pick up things that you wouldn't be able to get out of a piece of paper in a book.
Well, I bought the Woman's Day book calligraphy
Um,
many years ago.
Mm.
And I tried to teach myself, and then I went to the fair and they were writing names and they told me about the guild, so I came and joined, and that's how I, so, yeah.
And I think books are helpful after you know a little bit, you know, but when you are starting from scratch, they don't give you the three-dimensional nature of it
Yeah.
that you can get from watching someone.
You know, you really need to be in person, watching the person, whether you're looking at the camera or looking over the shoulder or sitting in front. You get to watch how they pull. And we had a workshop with Bill Womack and he was making the letters and he said, pulling strokes. And you watch him and he was moving his fingers and rolling that pen just a little bit as he made the letters. And someone says, Bill, you're manipulating the pen. He says, no, I'm not. He was so used to doing
that.
making.
Just
letters.
automatic.
Yes, it was automatic. for him.
I found this camera fascinating, but I've never seen that before. The first, when I came and they were doing the class with that, I thought, that is the coolest thing. 'Cause
And you can put it up
What
on
is-
the
and it's big
screen.
enough, you can see it, you know, when everybody's trying to see the same thing over somebody's shoulder.
Yeah.
You can't, everybody see where you can see it. So, that was cool.
You know, the Gill family broke down, we bought a camera and projector and that made a whole difference in workshops and everything we were doing. I mean, I don't know who has a camera right now.
And
And
does,
it's a-
and has it. But,
And
George, you got something in the chat.
oh, I do, okay. Hang on. Angle is bad.
I'm having a difficult time
Okay.
understanding conversations.
Somebody, Lisa's having a hard time hearing
She's gone.
the conversations. Oh, we lost her. Okay.
yeah, we probably almost need the mic out there and everybody.
Yeah, I've got to find the power supply for that other camera mic and if I've misplaced it somewhere along the line. I can get it out more in the middle.
What I've noticed, tell off on Jean, we were doing something in here one night, she was sitting back there. And I can remember her beginning, and she didn't want us to be seen. And I walked by and looked over her shoulder, and she's doing very well. You hear that, Jean?
She probably.
She's muted.
Mm-mm. She can't hear.
No.
She's muted. She's not, she can
Well, she's
hear it.
muted, but she can hear us.
There she
I
is.
hear you, and that was very kind. I'll leave it at that.
Well, so you started out with what Maggie was teaching, you
Yes.
practiced. You can learn in person. You
It took
maybe-
the foundational, though, to really put it together, because otherwise it was like speaking a different language that y'all spoke, and I didn't get it. So I had to have somebody spoon feed me.
So couldn't we have one of our meetings have divided 3 different experienced people, and then the people like you could come to, you know, my table for how to hold a pen and your table for pen angling, someone else's.
Do that.
Out and
We
in
have to
one,
be sure. We're gonna have, we wanna learn. I mean,
and the ones that don't can teach it. The 3. like
Yeah,
3 or
but I
4
mean,
people.
Either
right,
but there are not so many of us that are in
yeah,
that
we have to
position.
get a bunch in, is what we're
We
saying.
had like 3 or 4 of them last week. in the November meeting, didn't we have?
Yeah,
Mhm.
we did.
5
Uh-huh.
new people, sort of new, they're not back
Good.
I know
tonight.
there was a lady that was at the Christmas party that was kind of like me.
Yeah.
It was the beginning.
Betsy Rice, you know,
Yeah.
she just joined.
Yeah.
She's one of them that was
Yeah.
Not
talking
to be
about.
confused with Betsy Ross.
Yeah, that's how I can remember her name.
Can't blame them for not coming tonight either, so.
No.
Well, the weather is tonight has put a lot of folks out. They don't know what's coming.
At least we don't have 7.5 inches of snow.
Right.
No, but that's gonna be later in the week.
That's Friday, that's Friday.
Yeah, they've got snow forecast for Wednesday or Thursday, I think.
Thursday
Friday.
night.
They said
Friday.
Friday's the big, it is gonna be an
Yeah.
accumulation is what they.
Yeah,
said.
I had planned to go to Nashville next weekend or this weekend and that's out the window.
School will be out Friday. I predict school may be out.
Oh, yeah.
Just on general principles, right?
Yeah.
Because it's gonna have some accumulation.
Because there
If
might
you're
be a
going,
few-
no, but you know people in Nashville,
Mhm.
find out who's teaching paste paper.
I'll do that.
Okay,
I,
and then we'll,
Find out who else
Ask them
there
to
is
come.
teaching what.
what, yeah.
yeah, because
I mean-
Ann
Name
Cobb's
of the place in Nashville, the supply place that has workshops.
paper and ink art
Paper and ink arts,
Yeah.
yes.
or John Neal Bookseller, take your pick. They're the same
They're-
thing.
Okay.
same-
Yeah,
Yeah, they just did one up there with showing people how to work with with vellum.
oh,
Yeah.
interesting,
They are now carrying vellum out of John Neal,
goodness.
or paper and ink. You can order 8.5 by 11 sheets of vellum, or you can order whole skins, or you can get the cuttings.
It's a synthetic vellum though, right?
No, it's
No,
real
it's real
It's a
vellum.
real thing?
Yeah, there's a company called Pergamena, and they're in New York or someplace, and they're actually selling.
Right.
You made a mistake.
That's really
That's it.
great.
If you got the right knife.
And you're using the right
Oh,
ink.
it's so nice to write on.
It's lovely.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah, you make a mistake on vellum, you take a knife, you scrape it off, smooth it back down,
Burnish it down.
and right over it again.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I'd probably wear a hole in it, though.
yeah, you can't do that with paper. You do it with
too many
paper.
times. You can do it once or twice, but not too many times in the same spot.
The ink, you're using gouache, so it sits up on top, so you're
Okay.
just scraping off the gouache, you're not going very deep into it.
You know?
Or if you're using sumi ink or one of the sumis, it stays on top too. So
Cheap ink doesn't, it soaks down into it. You can't get it out.
This is another thing we could play with is,
That's another topic, you see.
yeah, inks, watercolor gouache, then you got was it aniline dye inks and.
or the
We need
acrylics.
to have you do another thing on the walnuts that you made yourself.
That look is just.
That was work, that was work, wasn't it?
What, making the,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and the bad part is.
You gotta catch the walnuts at the right time of year.
Yeah, there is a very narrow window with walnut ink. When you go out there and you pick it up, some of them, then they're beginning to rot. And you wear rubber gloves.
Are these the black ones? Are these the black?
Black walnut, yeah.
Black walnuts, yes.
Those green shells, they'll dye your hands black all by their lonesome.
Well, yeah, you
Yeah.
can pick it up and boil that down and work with it. And Keith said one time, it's gonna mold. Yes, it does. It will mold 3 or 4 or 5 times. And even, now I've got some right now that was made in 2008. It still works. Then there's some later dates in there. It's not as good, and I'm afraid to open the capsule some because I think it's gonna smell like. Yeah.
But the thing is, if you've got a pecan tree in the backyard, you can cut the pecan husks and do pretty much the same thing with them.
Go,
Yeah,
try that.
yeah, you can. It's
Got walnut ink,
it's fast.
You like walnut ink, huh?
ink out of walnut shells, pecans.
Yeah.
Tough to know, and they all know this. Yeah, I think the right direction.
Yeah, that's Jean.
Yeah, Annie Sakala.
No, it's not
Lynn.
Jean.
Wasn't Jean?
Lynn.
She's needed Lynn. Somebody
Lynn,
named Lynn.
okay. Yeah, her camera's not on, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, we had a meeting where John brought some of that in and we all got to play around with it and see how it worked.
And the thing is, when you lay walnut ink down, it doesn't dry immediately.
No.
Usually
No.
it's wet. So what you can do is take watercolor or acrylic ink or these metallic watercolor paints, and you can dip into that walnut ink with those colors, and it will bloom the color beautifully in walnut ink.
And dry faster.
I don't know about drying
I
faster,
have wal-
but
I have a bottle of walnut ink on my desk. And when I'm practicing, I usually write it with walnut ink because it just works so well. And I don't have any like, I buy the little powder.
So you don't make your own?
No, I buy the powder from John Neal
Mhm.
and then I just add distilled water to it. And mine does not go funky. I haven't had any go funky.
yeah, and I think that is actually made from moss. Not the real walnut, because if you do have the real walnut ink,
It's gonna,
it's gonna go funky real quick. And
What if you mixed alcohol with it or something?
then it soaks in, you can't deal with it.
alcohol is also a carbon-based product. Any carbon-based product will mold.
Hmm.
If it's
Never
got
heard
the right,
alcohol.
if it's been exposed to the mold spores.
I just know you never erase your guidelines if you're using until several days later if you're using walnut ink, 'cause
Oh.
it stays wet.
Or
well,
apparently
let me put
anything
it this
else.
way. All my Christmas cards this year, I got my gouache all mixed up and did them all. And I made my lines in there very, very lightly and I went back in to erase. And I erased and then smeared. And I remembered I didn't put any gum Arabic in there. And I got gotten them all done. So they all went out with pencil lines. Made me mad.
Hey, I've gotten to the point where I can't erase a pencil line. I'll draw a line and I'm thinking I'm laying the line fairly lightly, but I got to put some pressure on it so I can see the bloody thing. And then when I go back with a gum eraser or plastic eraser or any type of eraser, I can't get that bloody line to disappear. And then I got to thinking about it. Well, if you go back and look at the old manuscripts from the books of yore, the lines are still there.
Yeah, but they were not pencil lines.
No, they were
metal
They
lines.
were
Scored them in there.
Yeah.
And score, yeah, those are score lines. You look at the edge of the paper, you'll find the needle hole where they turned it over and matched the lines so that the lettering was all on the same
Yeah.
Darkness across there, so you're talking about making walnut ink. I called Annie Sakali, and she's a chemist with background chemistry, and she said something about additives, and she asked what I was doing, and she wanted to know, would I write down all the steps and let her publish it over there? And I said, no, because it's what you find on the internet is basically the same thing, except for there's a whole lot more steps of
filtering and
heating it, and you can overheat it and it turns dark. If you want something that's different, I have some cast iron nails that came out of our old farmhouse. I threw a half dozen of those in there in an aluminum pan, and I stirred it around and boiled that stuff for about 14 hours, and of course outside, and you don't do it inside, you run your house. Yeah.
but basically you just made walnut ink with iron and an elite paper if you're not careful.
I don't know how long it'd take to heat it up, but what you have with that is a rich dark walnut, but where if you're doing copper plate and it goes on thick, after that dries, it has a blue sheen, like Prussian blue. Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah. And of course, you have to add gum arabic to it to keep it from soaking into the paper. And it's just nothing, and like Peggy says, whenever certain inks, whenever you put the pen to the paper, it glides across it and it doesn't drag. Then you change and go to another ink and your pen drags.
And you find it.
Yeah, and it's just something about the way it lubricates the tip, the way you pull, and it works. And
It's the
when
same
you
with,
find,
it's the same with the wash,
Mhm.
depending on the wash you use, that either the brand or the particular type of wash you're using, sometimes you just fight that pen to get it to work.
Gouache is,
It's like a paint.
It's
It's in a
painted
paint water.
It's a little tube.
correct.
And that's,
I have some of that.
Yeah, but sometimes people think she's saying wash.
it's
It's
wash.
gouache. G, what is it?
G-U-A-C.
Gouache. One of my
Do you
favorite
find-
passwords.
Do you find that different colors act differently?
Yes, yes.
Because I wondered about the pigment in them, whether they act differently.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you have to be careful, if you're doing a piece and you wanna use a purple, you better find one that's light fast, because purple and oranges tend to be fugitive.
which
And
means
you'll
they
do-
fade.
Yeah,
And
oh yeah,
sunlight.
oh yeah. One time I did a piece, you know, the Prang watercolor set. I did a piece with that. And I really liked it. I put it up and nobody bought it. Glad they didn't. I put it in my house for a couple of years. I walked by it one day. All the yellows, all the oranges were gone.
Yeah. Yellow is the most volatile color.
Yeah, and that was just a student's
Student
watercolor,
grade,
so they
yeah.
weren't real good. You learn. You
It's
just
the
learn.
same with printing.
It's a good thing you didn't
Yellow
sell it.
goes-
Yeah, it's a good thing I heard about that. I heard about that.
We could do a mini
Yeah.
table with just what we find out from practical experience with different manufacturers and my father-in-law, when he did his painting, whether it was oil, acrylic, watercolor, he used Grumbacher. He wouldn't use anything else. And got to looking one day, and then there's two or three levels in Grumbacher. Yeah, you've got your professional level,
Your student
Your
level.
student grade,
yeah,
yeah.
and professional, and he did a lot of his work with the student level. Of course, you know, teachers back in the 50s didn't make much money,
Yeah.
and so
Do they now?
No,
Not that much.
no.
Relatively speaking, no.
but you go back and go in and look at some of your
Right.
tubes, wash.
Are you covering it all the way? And okay.
Cover what?
When?
Her microphone is not muted, which is what Jean was telling us
Ah, okay.
in the chat.
I muted
Thank you.
it.
Okay.
Well, I muted you. If you need to talk to us, hold your space bar down.
I thought I heard her talk.
You did. That was before she had it on.
Somebody was there.
So you're saying one program could be where we just had several different inks, paints, other things for people to practice with? 'Cause
And you
my-
know, even, I don't know, maybe this is all old news to you guys, but I mean, even a not complete beginner could maybe learn from something like that.
Yeah.
Because my walnut ink, it comes in a bottle. I wasn't here to use your homemade stuff that would be better. So I wasn't that impressed with it.
You wasn't impressed with my one?
No, mine that I bought a bottle of. I never tried yours.
That's why I buy the crystals,
Yeah,
because you can make it darker or lighter depending on how much water you add.
Yeah.
And so I have some control over it.
And I've
And the
been able to
Bister
go
inks work
Arabic.
the same
Huh?
way, and the Bister inks work the
And the
same way.
Bister inks work the same way.
And, but, you know, that's, the other thing is, most people don't know how to clean their nibs after they've been using them a while.
That's right.
Yeah.
Immediately.
You should clean it
Not
out.
when you
Yeah.
don't.
And most of us don't. I
Yeah.
would, yeah, we're sitting there, we rinse it off and put it away.
Yeah.
That's not cleaning it. You go back to it, and you look at it and you say, oh, I can see where I used the Pro White on that sucker and it's.
20% ammonia, thank you.
And
Or
we
dog
do have to-
dishwashing and a toothbrush.
That too.
And do not dip your pen down and so get the whole thing wet, because water will go up and inside that metal nib with the pen holder. It will rust,
Rust.
and then you've lost everything.
Can't get it out after that. It just-
And you may have lost the use of the pen holder as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, you lose everything.
Well, you know what I use on that? I have a small jar of Vaseline in the Carol right next to me. And when I put a nib in, I stick it in there and stick it down, because sometimes it's hard to get the nib in. And the Vaseline kind of protects it too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, that's good.
I wonder what would happen if you used Vicks.
Clean your sentences while you're doing your lettering. It works on glue, by the way. Elmer's glue, if you take a Q-tip and Vaseline and stick it up inside of a brand new glue bottle, it will never clog.
Wait, that's the name of that.
I was just gonna say, Albert's waste,
Say
paste,
that.
paste.
So you know how when Elmer's glue, it has the little nipple that comes up through there that you're supposed to screw that down and it keeps the hole open?
Yeah.
Well, if you, before you ever use it, if you take a Q-tip with Vaseline and put it up in there so that it stays greasy up in there.
Well.
No, any other
Goodness
time.
gracious.
That's easy.
That's an old art teacher's trick. Doing things with glue and you're always messing up.
I never.
Yeah.
So, but
And how long's it last?
I never had any clog up afterwards, but then you use it up, so.
Yeah.
If you're teaching, you're using a lot of glue real
Yeah,
quick.
that's
A lot. Just a dot, boys.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we've got enough teachers. We just need to set it aside and plan out something
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
we can encourage new members. And I don't know how many people look at our website. And kind of set that up where they see we're teaching that, and, you know, I need to go to the Germantown Library and ask
it's
them.
not
if
up
they-
to date.
They probably already got the years planned out
yeah.
for events and everything. But I know when we had Miss Baker in there, well, they had two artists in there in Germantown Library. And Emily liked what we were doing, and she promoted it with the director. And at that time, Dennis worked for the Memphis Public Library, so these people knew each other. And we had an in with the library with Dennis. Now we don't have anybody in the library system to do any of that. And,
Maybe a church would. Some church would allow their lower auditorium or their, some long tables in some church like this one, might allow it.
You wouldn't get some folks there with the police station.
Okay.
yeah, we used to do workshops at the police.
Yeah, we still have that in apparently.
these police precinct. Yeah, they cleared out and.
Do they have space? They have long tables like that?
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
I didn't go to those.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to test different events. And I know when I would go in, I would generally stop by the donut shop and get a half a dozen jelly bells on the front desk.
You're a popular man.
They enjoyed it, and we would have all the people get in there, and they had, I don't know what the police officer's name was, but he stood all of it, what, 6'6" maybe? I mean, he was a big man. He walked in there and he took several cameras and phones and took pictures of everybody for
Yeah,
a group
yeah.
shot. So we had teachers and all the students and no one missing. And
Where's the police station that does that?
Appling.
Appling,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
right off.
Houston,
The Greenwood
Kirby,
exit.
Kirby.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, we're in an area that is not open for public. And women's restroom was off limits back there. And reason being, there's a gun room back there.
They didn't want us in there.
And, you know, yeah, it's locked down. And there's like several other things going on back there that the general public is not supposed to be in that area, but they allow it. And they take their own meeting space and clear it out for us on the weekends like that. And then
Nice.
open the curtains back up and have full.
Full shift.
Yeah, but we make a donation.
Yeah.
So.
And one last thing about the libraries
Not
is
just
that
donuts.
it
Yeah.
probably, at least at the Germantown Library, I would find out about classes, because they have a book that you could go through and see what's coming out. I mean, that would be a way of having people that have never heard of the group, hear of the group. You know, to have something in a place like that where they're
Yeah.
promoting different kinds of classes. Not that particular library, that's a library.
What we ran into was Memphis, there's library being created at, what they call Poplar White Station Library, which is Officer Bed Library now. So we were able to meet there, then all of a sudden, they decided to shut down and change the hours, so it shut us out. The main library got kind of political. We were having, they had 3 conference rooms, they could, or one huge room, they could make 3 conference rooms.
It was really nice.
And we were meeting in one, and they had a schedule for the conference room B. It's in use, conference room A is open. We move over there, somebody says, you're not supposed to be in here. And then they wanted to have us in an area that was, I guess, seat 8 or 10 people at the most, mini conference room with a glass wall. And I think we had a board meeting there once. And then they got where they would not schedule us for the next year. So that we got these other groups that need to be in there, they're more supposedly public. Well, what more public can we get when you're offering to have a meeting and it's open to the public and encourage the people that are interested in calligraphy come, but we were shut out. And then it's
I
going
wonder if that would
to,
be different in different branches. I could check at my branch and see.
if they're open till
Till
8:30.
at night.
I think it's
And
Friday.
they've
me
got to have a
does.
big enough, well, they've
Yes.
got to have a big enough room. That's the other thing.
You know, something that would hold 20, at least 20 people. And Upper White Station, I think, would hold.
We got some more chats there, George.
Huh.
On the Zoom meeting.
Yeah. I can get my mouse to click on it. Yeah, Lynn's mic is muted. That's, okay, that's what you were telling us
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
okay, yeah.
Okay, anything else?
No. What's up for next month?
I don't have next month yet. I'm trying to get us into Rhodes Antiquities again.
Oh,
I have an inside source that tells me that Bill Short is retiring, and I'm trying to get us in there before he retires.
Oh, that would be great.
Just, I don't know what his successor will be and how amenable.
yeah.
So we haven't done that since 2017 was the
So
last
we need to
time
go
that
back
we were
in,
in there. Yeah,
Oh.
just, so you weren't there with us last time. I don't think they have all these ancient calligraphy manuscripts, some that are like 1,000 years old or something like that. 1400s, and they
1400,
let us handle them with gloves, and just look at all of this stuff. And it was just neat to see all these ancient pieces of calligraphy. So that's what I'm shooting for February. I haven't got a call back from him yet, but they just started back into school today, so.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed that one because I remember Suzanne when that was going on, so I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was nice. Yeah, so it was just so amazing to think that you're holding this piece of art that was done 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
I know they had one piece in there dated 1260. And you're getting to hold this, and it's original, it's not copies, these are original.
Books.
Yeah.
And you sit there and you look at it and you try to soak in all of what you see there.
Yeah.
And I had a chance, Cut Patch Framery was to reframe a piece of calligraphy, is in that what they call an antiphonal page, which was out of a songbook. Somebody destroyed this songbook, and their lines is only 4 lines, square notes,
So shape
Yeah.
notes.
shape notes.
Yeah.
And look down at the bottom, and I had a magnifying glass and bright light. And I'd go in there and look, and the red in there is translucent, and you can see the ground pigment in it.
Wow.
Yeah, and then of course you can see the lines and size, but these letters, horizontal bar with quill, then they make top, draw straight down, and they're a loop over, and you can see where they match into the wet ink and pull it around for the letter ink. It's squared off at the bottom.
Yeah.
And 1620 St. Mary's something. Anyway, it was done by the monks at this monastery of St. Mary's, I think in Italy. And beautiful, but I got to keep it for a week. And what the thing was they wanted the title to this piece written on the map. So, and they wanted it down the same. So you're looking at these large letters and you're having to come back with the 1/8 of an inch high, lowercase letter. And
Tiny writing.
Yeah, tiny writing.
Yeah, but that was true of a lot of those pages anyway.
Right. Later.
There was an exhibit at Brooks many years ago, and the books that were there were like this, and
Eye strain.
eye strain. I couldn't have done it back when I saw it. I would have had to have had binoculars I don't know how the monks did it.
Yeah.
And they didn't have light. I mean,
You know what they had? A flask of water. You put it over it, magnify it would be their magnifying lens.
have
Well,
to.
when they, at least with needlework, they used a candle coming through water to cause extra light.
Well, some of the manuscripts have paintings of the monks doing the writing, and they're actually sitting outside under an awning, so they get the sunlight. Yeah.
okay, anybody got anything else?
We're good? Well.
I move we adjourn.
Yeah, we decided.
Okay, then we are adjourned until,
February the 3rd.
and hopefully it's warmer. with
Yeah,
no
it's about
snow and
freeze
no
right
ice.
now.
Yeah, except that we all know there's got a second winter in months.
Oh, that's the
Sounds
same.
Thank you all.